Hi, hello, and welcome to Coffee with Dari. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm seeing funny things happening on my screen. Hopefully, that's not what's happening on your end, but it was flickering. Okay, I'm getting flickers every once in a while. I hope it's not happening on your screens. But welcome to Coffee with Dari. Sorry, I am just a mess. Okay, I had issues with the camera, and I'm having issues with myself. All right. Please ignore this. Look, even this is all messed up. This is the beauty of live videos, right? Okay. All right, we're gonna get it together. All right. If you're watching the replay, I apologize, but welcome into Coffee with Dari. Today, I am breaking down the steps or 3 simple ways that you can raise your Instagram engagement. Recently, we had a client, we were able to bring engagement up to 9% when typically engagement within their range of follower numbers and industry was about 0.55%. So that's a huge difference. And we took a couple steps. It didn't happen overnight. And I wanted to come on and share this because recently, earlier this week, or maybe last week, Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, mentioned that engagement is what you need to focus on. And I've been saying this for years. Engagement is where we need to focus on. I've just seen a shift happen. I did a video series called 500% More Leads in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks to 500% More Leads, and sales from Instagram. And in there, what I revealed was that one of my predictions is that social media is going to become more of a website where people are going to go to get to know you, to find information. So that might not necessarily lead to a follower, but it could lead to someone engaging, seeing your things, and then reaching out to contact you. So engagement is important for many different reasons. So let's talk about it. I'm going to flip to my notes so I don't forget anything. But one of the reasons why I think you should focus on engagement is because followers can be kind of an empty number. There's bots out there. People stop using their Instagram accounts. I think I just recently, I periodically go through my followers and actually force unfollow them because some people completely stop posting. They might be creeping, but if I can tell that an account really is dead, and someone's not using it anymore, I go ahead and get rid of it. So you're gonna get a lot of that in your following, or not a lot, but periodically. Also, the numbers fluctuate. Instagram and or Meta does occasionally go through, and it happened. It used to happen on X. I'm not sure if they still do that. I'm sure they do, but they do clean up accounts. So there'll be times when you see a flushing of accounts, and it's just because the networks are getting rid of those accounts that are trash and not actually engaging or doing anything. So that number fluctuates. And it's also a number that you can get so discouraged by, right? Because you're posting, you're not seeing the number go up. I'm not saying that it's not an important number. It is. We always want to be reaching new people. We want to see that follower grow. You want to see your base grow. Of course, we want to see that. But engagement matters more to me because anyone can just buy followers, or you can just have this number of followers. But if no one's actually talking to you, no one's actually interacting with you, do they really care about what you have to say and what message you're putting out there? To me, if your followers are not converting, then does it really matter? If I'm not getting clicks, if I'm not getting leads, if people aren't actually following through, it's just this number that sits there. And that's not what I want for you and your business. So that's why we focus on engagement. Also, because of the algorithms, engagement will trigger the algorithms to favor your content and push it out to more people, which should in turn get you more followers if your content is correct and if you're delivering on what people assume they're going to get from your account. So yes, you want the followers, but you kind of need the engagement to trigger that once the algorithm sees, oh, people do like this content and it's consistent, then it starts to show your content to more people. So it's annoying, we have to play the algorithm game, but if you focus on engagement, it should trigger following as well down the line. Okay, so what is engagement? And when I speak about engagement, I'm talking about people not just liking your post. Of course, that's a good measure, right? A like, but a like can be so passive. So I really like to look at comments. I like to look at clicks, click-through rates. If people are DMing you, sometimes I'll not get as much action on a post, but then I'll get DMs about the post or the subject that it was on or about the story that I posted. So pay attention to that. And Mosseri told us that what matters to Instagram the most right now is actually the shares per reach. So content that gets shared, they're ranking that as valuable content, as content that will, again, make the algorithm happy, trigger more engagement, and so on and so forth. So how do you make sure that you create content that people want to share? And that's what we're diving into. So usually, not always, but usually people share content, and think about what kind of content you share with your friends. It's usually something that entertains you or something that helps you look smart, right? It's content that you're like, hey, I saw this might be useful to you, or I want to do this, or look, this looks fun, this looks cool, or this made me laugh. I'm not saying get on your Instagram accounts and crack jokes and dance and do things that don't align, but just keep in mind those lenses through which you like to share content and through which people in general like to share content, and how can you relate that back to your brand. And there should always be value as well. But value changes. Value can be, again, entertainment. It can be learning something, learning the why behind something. It could just be interest. This looks interesting to me. How does that process work? People are a little bit voyeuristic nowadays, I would say. So they want to go behind the scenes. So how can you provide that to your audience? Okay, so what triggers engagement? What do you do if you're posting and you're not seeing engagement? So first of all, you need to look and see if your content, as you're posting it today, is triggering engagement. Are you getting comments? Are you getting shares? Is it a matter of you wanting to kind of create more engagement? Do you want to get more comments? Do you want to get more shares? Or are you plateauing? Do you feel like no one's engaging? And so at that point, you have to look at yourself and at your content and say, is this actually good content, or am I just posting to post, right? Am I just filling a void? What is valuable? What can get me there? So sometimes that can be consistency. So in order to trigger engagement, you do need to be consistent, show up consistently. I've noticed that I wasn't showing up in stories as much, so I've stepped that up a little bit. I'm using these lives as a way to engage and show up and be consistent. So I'm doing these every first and third Friday. So what does that look like to you? Are you having issues with being consistent, and how can you fix those, right? So consistency is one. You need to show up. I'm not saying you need to show up 24/7, 365, just making it consistent. Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? What are you talking about? Is that consistent? Are you jumping all over the place? And yeah, that's one of the ways. The next one is to be willing to experiment and be willing to fail, because you're not going to know what works until you put it out there and you try. Sometimes I think I have brilliant ideas and they sound so good to me, and then I put them out there and it doesn't do as well. But something I think is okay, but like not my favorite thing, that blows up. So you don't really know what's going to work until you try it. So experiment. It's okay if something's flopped. We're going to ignore those. We're just going to continue doing what works. I noticed I said this I'm not sure if it was a live or what context, but I remember looking through, I started getting curious about creators, influencers, and how they got to where they are. So I took a look at some of my, ones that were popping up in my feed, and they tried different formats of the thing that I was seeing now. So one influencer, for example, she shares fashion, and she was doing it, but not in the same way as the videos that I was seeing. So if you looked back on her account, she was either, the style was different, the format was different. It was images, or she was on the street showing off the clothes. And then I saw her shift to a blank wall in her apartment. I think there was like a minimal plant or decoration next to her. And it was a reel, and she just kept doing that and repeating that. And those videos were the ones that were getting a lot of action. And then that's the format that she went with. So you're gonna have to try different things. There was another one who was a graphic designer. So he was putting his graphics out there, weren't getting a lot, it wasn't getting a ton of action, but he was also fashion focused. There was like a graphic / fashion focus on his posts. But when he shifted more into the fashion lens and not so much like the edits, and the edits were great, but once the content took more of the fashion edge, that's when it started to blow up. So he could still create these really cool videos, but they were more fashion based, and that was how he got his content out there. So it may not be that you're saying the wrong things or doing the wrong things or sharing the wrong things. The format might just need a little bit of adjusting. So just something to think about. So be ready to try things and fail, and that's okay. That's all part of the process. But once you hit it, then it becomes a whole lot easier. Okay, so lastly, I want you to take a look at analytics. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning of this section, but just take a look, get in the habit of taking a look at your analytics, because that's going to tell you, that's where you can see directly what content is getting saved, what content is getting shared, and that might give you a hint as to what format people are really enjoying from you. And you can always ask your audience as well. And lastly, here are the steps we took with our client in order to get to that 9% engagement rate. First of all, we audited the account, and not just the account, we actually, it was more of a brand strategy. And I've been talking about that a lot, because brand strategy is what's going to lead everything that's coming up after. It streamlines the whole process. It really puts the blinders on and has you focus just in a way that you don't get if you're just posting and just trying things without a clear direction. So we did take an audit. Then we identified the key themes that were working and the elements that were missing. So after we had a conversation, talked about the bigger goals, then we took a step back and said, okay, are you actually talking about the things that you do want to talk about, that you want to be known for? And we devised a plan with new campaigns and content formats and themes that focused more on who they were as an individual and really brought that personality out. Because I will go blue in the face saying this also, there can be a million people saying the same thing you are, but the way that you say it and present it, that's what makes you stand out. That's what's going to find your people. It's like, I live in New York City. There's a million sandwich shops. Why would you go to a specific sandwich shop? I have celiac, and I have to go to just gluten-free ones. But before that, it's like, why do you go to the place that you go to, even though there's like a million places that do the same thing? It's you. It might be the people. It might be what flavors they add to their sandwiches, or let's say tacos, because that's easy for me to connect with. It might be the flavors of the tacos, the toppings, the sauces. There's different elements that only that restaurant has, and therefore it's the same thing when you're dealing with thought leadership or a product. It's the way you present it. Everyone has their special sauce, and you need to figure out how to put that out there. And then lastly, we tested, and then we just kind of repeated the things that worked, and we got to that 9% engagement rate. Again, this was someone that was already super active online. It's not like they lacked in content or consistency. It was just like those little tweaks and pulling the right levers and really honing in to what made the difference, what made them stand out, what Are we speaking about the things that they want? Are we actually comparing our success to goals that make sense as opposed to just like followers, right? Not that, again, that's not a number we want to completely ignore, but when you focus on engagement, all of those other pieces fall into place. So the main thing we really did was to look at the brand as a whole, to devise a brand strategy, and to really figure out what was important, what themes mattered, what kind of engagement we wanted, and then again testing all that content and making sure that it was all aligned. And if you have any questions, I will go ahead and take them now. I'm not seeing any coming in. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I'll end it here for today. Again, short and sweet. I don't like to bore you or beat around the bush, but I hope that was helpful. Remember that planning and having a strategy is essentially going to cut out all the noise and all the frustration. Not all the frustration, because there's going to be frustration. Again, you're going to run across things that don't work. You are going to try things, it might flop, but that's not the stuff we want to concentrate on. It's more like eliminating things that don't work for you and really honing in on what does, and how you can help your personality shine through. So always keep those goals in mind. Always keep that brand strategy in mind. My agency does have openings right now for brand strategies. So if you're interested in figuring out how you can showcase yourself, your brand, your business in the best way possible, that actually triggers engagement, please reach out. I'm more than happy to hop on the phone and help you figure it out. So yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. It is a holiday weekend here in the States, so I hope you enjoy your time off. If you have any questions, again, reach out. And yeah, I'll see you around the internet. Bye.